So, we just celebrated Tu Bishvat yesterday, and even though it might be after the fact, and some might question, why do you talk about something that was already in the past? So first of all, we learn from the Zohar about Shabbat. The Zohar says, Kulu yamin midbavchin minei. All the days after Shabbat, they get blessed from the power of Shabbat. More than that, we know it's brought down in Halakha that if a person didn't do Havdalah on Motzei Shabbat, he can still do Havdalah on Sunday and Monday and even on Tuesday. So we learn from that even if I miss something on Shabbat, I can still do it on Sunday or Monday. More than that, if something happened on Shabbat, it's still affecting the rest of the week. So since we can't record on Shabbat, so we'll record today. Besides the fact that when something happens in our calendar, it means that I have to learn something from it, from my Avodat Hashem. And it doesn't matter if I'm going to say now brachot on fruit or not, if Tu Bishvat was yesterday, it doesn't really matter. I want to learn what has it got to do with me. Everything that the Torah brings to us, everything that our sages teach us, it has to do with my Avodat Hashem. And if I apply it to my life, then I'm utilizing the chokhmah of the Torah, the wisdom of the Torah, and that's the point why everything is brought to us and explained to us in many different ways and in depth. Because on Friday, we had a nice Shabbat meal here with many, many guests, and there was one individual who told me, what's the whole deal with the Tu Bishvat? Why do I need to bother? I didn't read about this holiday in the Torah. It's not a biblical holiday. I didn't read about this holiday anywhere. And what do you want me to do? To eat a few fruit? I think it's a waste of time. I don't see anything in this holiday. I think people are just fanatic about, they're looking for excuses. He wasn't the advocate of the holiday. So I told him, no, you're mistaken, because in everything in the Torah, there's something to take from. Besides that, if it already brings a few people together, and it will make a few people sit and say brachot and thank Hashem, that's already a good thing. If you want a place to sit, excuse me, you can sit over here. There's a lot of room over here. So, Tu Bishvat is a beautiful holiday. A lot of people love this holiday because you can work, you don't have to do a big meal, there's no seudot, you don't have to build anything, you only have to buy a few fruits and say some blessings. So a lot of people say, I like this holiday, not too much work, I don't have to cook for 2 days and for 20 people, I don't have to build illegal structures outside of my house, I don't have to spend thousands of dollars. I want to learn what does that holiday got to do with me, because I constantly want to elevate myself in my connection to Hashem. I want to work on myself in my Avodat Hashem, and I want to become a better person, and I want to become a better Jew, a better husband, a better wife. So the Torah comes to give me tools to bring this beauty out of me. So we have beautiful hints in this holiday of Tu Bishvat, that really what is this holiday? Here in Israel, they changed it a little bit and they started calling it Chag La'ilanot, the holiday for the trees. Really, how it's mentioned in the Zohar is Chag La'ilan, one, not La'ilanot, not to all of them. And of course, when the question arose, which ilan, which trees it's talking about, the Zohar is referring to the tree of life. This is the ilan that we're talking about. Now, there's a famous verse in the Torah, Ki Adam U'etz HaSadeh, the person is like a tree. So exactly how a tree has a cycle, we have the exact same thing. And how does a tree start? A tree starts with a seed. And the seed has to be planted in the ground. And in order for the seed to grow, then it has to go through a process of being dissolved and being rotten completely. And only after the seed is 100% rotten and dissolved in the ground, then it starts sprouting and starts growing, and from that can grow a tree or a bush or whatever it is. Same thing is with us. I was planted in this world in order to grow spiritually, in order to develop. The only way for me to develop and to grow spiritually is if I bring myself to this state of dissolvement, of being, so to say, rotten in the ground. And there's only one way of doing that, is that killing my ego. Is taking my ego and putting it in the ground and letting it rot over there. Because if I grow my ego, then I will never have any spiritual development. If you can hold the questions to the end, then after that we'll give some time for questions. If I nourish my ego, I will never reach into any type of spiritual development. Rather, if I want to grow spiritually, I have to take my ego and I have to plant it in the ground. I have to rot. It has to rot. And then from that, something positive will develop. That's why we say when we're finishing the prayer of Shmona Esrei, "V'nafshi ka'afar lakol tiyeh." And nafshi, my soul, will have to be placed in the ground. Ka'afar, it has to be in the ground. Only that's how I can start growing. And if I do not do that, then I will never grow. Now, what is the motion of a tree or anything that grows? It's called tzmicha, is to grow, is to develop. Which means that I have in me the ability to develop, to grow. Now, how does a tree grow? It needs to be planted in the ground. It needs to be fertilized. It needs to be watered. It needs sun. There's all sorts of elements that will allow the tree to grow. The exact same thing is the power in me. I have a power in me. If you even look at it based on the physicality, I'm a little seed when I start my journey. I'm nothing. It's a little seed, and it starts developing in the womb. For a couple of months, there's nothing there. It's a little fetus. There's nothing in there. And then it starts developing slowly, the limbs, the arms, the feet, the head. Same thing as a tree. It has to develop. Now, mainly how we celebrate the holiday of Tu Bishvat is that we take the fruit of the 7 species and we eat them and we say a blessing and we eat them in a certain order. But mainly we have to eat from the 7 species. We can't just say the bracha on an apple or on a potato. Rather, we take the 7 species, הפירות שנשתבחה הארץ מהם, the fruits and the crops that the land was blessed by, and we have to say a blessing, basically showing our appreciation to Hashem. But since there's so much more to talk about, I want to just concentrate on each one, what it means in my Avodat Hashem and how it has to do with my spiritual growth. So we have 2 groups here. We have the first 2, who are chita and seora, which are grain. It's not fruit. And then the other 5 is fruit. This is the fruit from the 7 species. It's 5, but these are 5 special fruits that even we talked about it in our course about Birkat HaNe'enim. We're talking about how these specific fruit have a different blessing and they have a different meaning. So we have 2 groups here. One group is crops that really, you don't really enjoy eating grain. You don't eat wheat and you don't eat barley, like as it is. You have to cook it, you have to bake it, and it seems on the surface very plain. On the other hand, the other 5 fruits are special fruit. They're the supreme, the superior, the best fruit. That it says that the land was blessed by these fruits. So, in the 2 categories, first we go to the first 2. The first one is chita. Now the quality of chita is grain, is flour. The quality in it is that you plant a little bit and it grows in masses. And it grows in huge quantities. And that's the first and the foundation of my Avodat Hashem. Now, interesting, you see that if you take the word chita and you write it without yud, because in the Torah chita is written without yud, so the numerical value of chita will be 22. You have chet, you have tet, and you have hey. This is 22. What else do we find in the Torah that has 22? The 22 letters. 22 letters of the Lashon Kodesh. This is called Otiyot Torah, Kafbet Otiyot Torah. It's calling them the letters of the Torah, which means that if I take the letters of the Torah and I plant it, so to say, like I plant the seeds of the flower, then it grows in unbelievable quantities. So the first and most important things that I need to do is to take these words of the Torah and they have to be planted in me. I have to pray, I have to read, I have to learn, I have to repeat, I have to say verses from the Torah, I have to read, whatever it is. But only by taking the words, the 22 letters of the Torah, then it's like me planting the seeds, and the result is going to be a growth in an unbelievable abundance. This is the foundation. Next I have barley. Now barley in Hebrew is called seorah. Seorah comes from the word in Hebrew shiur, a measurement, a certain measurement. Now if I'm a farmer and I have cattle and I have goats and sheep, I don't just throw food at them. Anyone who ever was farming knows that there has to be a certain quantity. You can't give them too much. So what does the farmer do? He takes a shiur, a measurement of the sorah. That's one of the food that you actually feed animals. They eat. They like eating barley. I grew up in one of my stages in my life. I was in some type of a school that half the day we would learn and half the day we would farm. And you know, it was, so to say, a punishment, because as a teenager I was a little bit of a troublemaker. That's an understatement to say a little, but I was a troublemaker. And at some point the school kicked me out and I was out of school. So there wasn't many options, so they took me to this faraway school that was considered a punishment. For me, it was the best time of my life. It was like going on a class trip for a whole year. So we slept there, we ate there, it was like a boarding school. So the theme of the place was that half the day we work and half the day we learn. And the working was in the field, and it was amazing. We worked in the field, we worked with animals, with cows and chickens, and it was very, very special. I can just say that it was a very good teaching in my life. I'm actually happy that I went there. It was a very special experience. But what I want to say from that is that when we used to take care of the animals, though the animals need to eat in portions. You don't just throw at them food. This is called in Lashon Kodesh shiur, a measurement. Everything has to be in a measurement. Now, I have an animal in me. This is called the nefesh habehemit. And my nefesh habehemit just wants to eat all day long. All day long it wants to eat. It wants to eat food, and it wants to sleep, and it wants to procreate, and it wants to pleasure and to derive pleasures from anything it can have, it can put their hands on. I have to control my animal. And this is called seorah. This is the shiur. I need to know how to, so to say, control my animal. When to give what portion I can give my animal soul. So if it needs to eat, yeah, give it to eat, but in a portion. It needs to sleep, give it to sleep in a right portion. It wants to procreate, give it, but in the right portion. Don't give it too much. An animal you give too much, then they don't have control. We have a beautiful aquarium. We bought beautiful fish. My kids enjoy feeding the fish all day long. I told the person in the shop, how much food do I need to give them? He tells me, give them 1 spoon a day. I said, I don't know, there's a lot of fish there. And every time I just walk next to the aquarium, woof, they all come to the surface. And I say every time I put the spoon, they eat it in a second. They look hungry there. So he says, no. 1 spoon a day. That's what they need. You feed them more, they'll just eat more. But they don't need more than that. So Baruch Hashem, I had the pleasure to constantly in my life, I had animals, many different types of animals. Animals need to be fed a certain quantity. And if you give them too much, then they want more. Same with my nefesh habehemit. If I don't restrict my nefesh habehemit, then it will constantly want more. And the more I put it on a diet, the more it's going to be under control. Exactly like you said before, that if I don't feed it, if I don't entertain it, at some point it's not going to come. So the whole concept of the seorah is that I have to learn to put everything in the right measurement. Everything has to be measured, and especially when it comes to training, so to say, I have to train my nefesh habehemit. It's an animal. I need to know how to control it. If I do not control my nefesh habehemit, it's going to control me. Sometimes you see owners, they walk with their dog in the street, the dog takes them for a walk. You know, they go after the dog. You know, sometimes it's actually kind of a joke, but you know, here you don't find it so much here in Israel. In America, it's a law. You have to pick up the dirt that the dog does. People walking around with bags. And somebody once said that if an alien, if there would be such a thing as an alien looking down at this world, they would say in this world the dogs are the kings because they were being walked around. Their excrement is being picked up for them. They get fed, they get groomed. So if somebody would look at it and say, these dogs, they control this world. But in many cases, you see that the owner controls the dog. Sit, go, fetch, come. So I need to know how to control my animal in me. And if I don't know how to control my animal in me, the animal in me will control me. So this first and the foundation is the crops, is that I have to first of all lie down the foundation and to put a lot of seeds in the ground. This is the Torah, and then I have to know how to control my animal. But these are the difference between the two groups. The next group is all the fruits. Now fruits are compared to pleasure. I mean, in the olden days they would pleasure on good fruit. Today you'll pleasure on a cake or on chocolate or ice cream. But neither one of them are healthy or good for you. In the olden days, and some people up until today, their oneg is fruit. In some places you go and they serve what's called an oneg Shabbat. They're not going to serve you chocolates. They'll serve you good grapes and pomegranates, and that is the right way. So these fruits are considered pleasure, oneg. This is what's called lit'aneg alavaya, to have pleasure in the Kadosh Baruch Hu. That's why the species that the land was blessed from are actually fruits. So from the fruit you can actually learn a lot of things. But the first of the fruits of the 7 species is not such a pleasurable fruit, by the way. It's the olives. If you go by the hierarchy of the actual fruits, the first one is an olive. So what is that? I don't find so much pleasure in the bitterness of the olive. Now when you eat it, when you buy it from the supermarket, after it was fermented, after it was crushed, after it was soaked in oil, it's good. Go outside, I have an olive tree, pick one out of the tree and we'll see how much you're going to like it. It's not. It's hard, it's going to break your teeth, and it's extremely bitter. The ones that we eat in the supermarket, that's a processed olive. This is not the actual original one. But the original one is hard, and mainly it's bitter. Where do we find the first time the mentioning of olives in the Torah? After the flood, a whole year the world was upside down, and then the flood ends, and then the ark lies down, and then Noah opens the ark. The first animal he sends out is a crow, a rev. The next one he sends is a pigeon, a dove. And the dove comes back in the first round empty-handed. The next time she comes back, it says that she had ale zait teref be'ada. She comes back with a leaf of olive. Why dafka olive? Why she couldn't find something else? Why the olive? The Midrash explains that the angels asked the dove, why did you bring an olive? From all the trees that were out there, you chose the olive? So the dove answered the Kadosh Baruch Hu, excuse me, the dove answers the Kadosh Baruch Hu, I rather have bitter food from the hands of the Kadosh Baruch Hu than something sweet from the hands of a human being. To teach us that we have a lot of things that are bitter in our life. That's a normal thing. I mean, I'm not saying it's a good thing, I'm just saying it's a pretty common thing. That we have a lot of bitter things in my life. The dove comes and tells me, the Yonah represents Knesset Israel, the Jews. If you have the custom of reading Shir HaShirim, you see that it's constantly talking about Yonati, my pigeon, my dove. This is talking about the Jews. Of course, it's the Jews that answer the Kadosh Baruch Hu, that says that I rather have my mezonot, my food, bitter, but know that it comes from the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Rather to have something sweet from another human being that might seem good, but it comes with the fakeness that comes from a human being. I rather suffer, so to say, and some things in my life should be bitter, but I know it's coming directly from the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning to say, in other words, that in my Avodat Hashem, in my growth, has to be bitterness. Has to be things that will be bitter. But I need to understand that it comes from the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And if it comes from the Kadosh Baruch Hu, I rather have that than having my entire life sweet, but coming from fake human beings and from fake people. And that everything is fake and everything is not real. And more than that, we know that what does the olive produces? It produces olive oil. And we used to light the menorah with it. The Torah says, that you have to take from me pure olive oil that is coming from the olive. How do you do it? Katit, you have to crush it. Which means that the best comes out of me when I'm crushed. So when my life is bitter and something is tasting not so good, this is the way that the Kadosh Baruch Hu is crushing me. Why? To take the best out of me. So the next time that I'm dealing with something that is hard or something that is bitter in my mouth, I just have to understand it's only coming from the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's only coming to bring the best out of me. And better to do it by myself. The teachings of Chassidut says, listen, we all have to go through some type of suffering. That's the reality. We came here to suffer. I know it doesn't sound now so nice. I know people don't want to hear it. I know people say, no, Hashem doesn't want us to suffer. The reality is that we come down to this world and we have to work hard. And we have to go through some type of suffering. But I can choose the type of suffering. I can now put myself now in a yeshiva and learn 3 hours a day, and that will be my suffering. I can take on myself suffering, so to say. You want to comment on that? You're right. It's not suffering. But when learning Torah, how is it called? Lekabel ol Torah. Amal. It's hard. So if I take on myself now, most people, if they do an action that is called lifrok ol Torah, is to get off me the so to say the yoke of the Torah. If I accept on myself the yoke of the Torah, the Mishnah says, Kol haporek me'atzmo ol Torah yekabel alav ol derech eretz. If I throw off myself the yoke of the Torah, I'm going to be burdened with the yoke of the world. But kol ha'mekabel al atzmo ol Torah, any person that takes on himself the yoke of the Torah, porek me'atzmo ol derech eretz. He's not going to have problems with derech eretz, with the problems of the world. So of course learning Torah is not suffering. But if you do it the right way, it's hard work. It's to learn the sugiyah, what does it mean there, or to memorize it. Same thing with the mitzvah. Mitzvot, they don't come so easy. If you're busy accepting the yoke of the Torah, which is not so easy, let's face it, then you're pushing away all the other problems that you will have to deal with. Or, to say it in another way, if you deal with other people's problems, then the Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to make sure that you don't have to deal with your own problems. That's why Kadosh Baruch Hu puts in front of you so many different situations. You know, there's a famous story about Yosef HaTzadik. And Yosef HaTzadik was in jail. And later on, of course, there was a Hollywood story and a beautiful ending, and he became a king, and a sof tov, a kol tov. But the reality was that he was in jail for 12 years. Now, what was really the little action that got him out of jail? The action that got him out of jail was the fact that 2 years before he got out of jail, two individuals were thrown into jail. Sarah Mashkim and Sarah Ofim, the minister of the bakery and the minister of beverages, and he solved their dreams. And 2 years later, when Paro had a dream, then they said, oh, there's this little boy in the jail, he solves dreams. So technically one might say that what caused his release is the fact that these two individuals remembered him. But how did he even assist them? The Torah says that when they woke up in the morning, they woke up in the morning with a frowning face. He took out of his time to ask them, what's wrong? Is everything okay? Can I help you? And just the fact that he approached them, they said, yes, we had a dream, and one thing led to another. Which comes to teach us something so simple, that if he would not bother with their problem, they would not know that he solves dreams. This was of course everything comes from Hashem. Hashem got him out of jail. But it had to get dressed in nature. This is called B'derech HaTeva. It had to get dressed in nature. And it got dressed in nature by the fact that he turned to them and asked them, are you okay? Can I help you? And he helped them. He didn't have to help them. You know, in jail, he was the ruler. He was the in charge of the jail. He could have just said, what do I need to learn from that? That when I turn to another person to offer my help, that might be my salvation. And every day the Kadosh Baruch Hu puts in front of me, so to say, a burden of somebody else's problem. Almost any day somebody will turn to me and tell me I need help. I need money, I need advice, I need you to babysit my kid, I need you to help me here. Every day somebody will turn to you. You have the opportunity of saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so busy. You can't even imagine how busy I am. But just because you don't want to do it. And then what happens is you are left to deal with your own problem. And usually it will come when you have to deal with your problem. And if you put your problem aside and you're dealing with somebody else's problem, that probably will be the salvation to your problem. So Kadosh Baruch Hu constantly puts situations in front of you that you're not comfortable. They're not convenient for me now to come and deal with your problem. I have my own problems. But when I take my time and I say, okay, let me put my problems aside, let me deal with your problem, in most cases the Kadosh Baruch Hu will make my problem just dissolve. So that's why the Yonah, why the dove says, I rather my problems be bitter by the Kadosh Baruch Hu, not for other people. And I want to take from the fruits of the zait, of the olive, is that there has to be sometimes something bitter. Better to take the bitter on myself. Better me going out and saying, how can I help you? Do you need help? Let me help you. I'm busy now helping with you, with your problem. My problem will be solved by default. I'm busy taking on myself the yoke of the Torah. Then some might say it's suffering. No, it's not suffering. Better that coming from the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So just by that, that's already a motion that to know that I should initiate solutions to other problems than waiting for the problem to come and finding the solution to it. So that I can take from the olive. The next one in line is Tamar, is the date. Now, what does it say about Tamar? There's a pasuk that says, Tzadik katamar yifrach. A righteous person will grow like a tamar, like a date. On the tamar, there's a lot to say. One thing that we can take from that this tree doesn't have any garbage. In Hebrew, it's called psolet. Everything in this tree we use. The fruit we eat. The leaves, we make a lulav out of it. The branches, we make a schach out of it. We make a cover for our sukkah. Everything that comes out from this tree, I use it for something. I don't throw anything. There's no waste in this tree. Meaning that in everything that is in my life can be utilized for something. It shouldn't be done. It shouldn't be used. It shouldn't be disposed. If Hashem gave me something, it has to be utilized. Meaning to saying, in other words, it says, "V'amech kulam tzadikim," that we're all compared to a tzaddik, means that in me there's a potential to be a tzaddik, to grow to be in the level of a tzaddik. There's a potential, of course. But more than that, I need to take from that this element shows in me that there's nothing in me that should not be used. Anything that I have, that Hashem gave me, has to be utilized for my Avodat Hashem. Everything in me is positive. There's no such a thing that something is negative in me. In me, when I'm saying in me, in each and every one of you. And I have to have this knowledge, there's nothing negative in me. If something is negative in me, it means that I brought it in. It's not coming from me. We just spoke about the negative thoughts and many other negative things. It means that I brought it in me. So if I can recognize something negative in me, it's not part of me. It has to be removed out. Because I can only produce positive things. Exactly like the tamar, nothing goes to waste. The fruit I can eat, the leaves I can use, the branches I can use. Meaning that everything the Kadosh Baruch Hu gave me has to be utilized for Avodat Hashem, and it's positive. So if the Kadosh Baruch Hu gave me a talent that seems to me irrelevant, I like sewing, I like cooking, I don't know what, each one has a talent. Every individual in the world has at least one talent and one thing that they like a lot that is called a hobby. And it wasn't given by chance. It means that that's where I'm unique. And I have to take my uniqueness and utilize it to Avodat Hashem. And if I don't, then I'm wasting my talent. And almost in anything that you can point on as a talent can be used for Avodat Hashem. You just have to be creative. And a lot of people says, well, I don't have a talent. There's no such a thing. You might be very talented in teaching people. You might be very talented in dancing, in singing, in playing an instrument. Doesn't matter what it is. Most likely, there is something that you're talented in. Now you have to connect it. How do I bring it to my service of God? And just to give you one example out of many, that one time I met this young lady in her early 20s, and she says, listen, I grew up in a religious family. I really don't have a yetzer hara. I'm not really like a good girl. I'm not getting into trouble. I pray every day. I learn. I do good acts. If I have to analyze myself without saying it in a ego way, I'm pretty good. I don't see anything bad. Here and there, something minor. And I feel I'm like worthless. What am I doing to Hashem? I pray and I learn and I follow the Torah. I don't feel that I'm special in any way. And I don't feel that I have, like you're saying, a talent that could be used for Avodat Hashem. So I says, okay, must be that you have a talent. Do you like to sing? Do you like to cook? Do you like to, grow tomatoes? You must like something. So she says, I love dancing. So I says, oh, dancing is a talent. If you would see me dance, that's not going to be such a good, you have to have talent to dance. Some people just throw their hands in the air. That's not talent. To have a talent in dancing, that's a gift from the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So I told her, I have an idea for you. Why don't you take your talent, and you live in not such in a neighborhood that is not unfortunately gifted with funds. It's a neighborhood that the majority of people are not so blessed with parnasah. Money is very tight there. Why don't you take all the young girls there and you make yourself a little studio and you teach them how to dance? Now these individuals, these families, they all have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 kids. They live in small apartments. They can't afford sending the child to a dance class. It's expensive. So you take something, take $5, something simple. And you take them all. They're all cramped in these small apartments, living in Brooklyn. They don't have outlets. They're bored out of their minds. These kids grow crazy because there are 8 kids in a room. Take them out. Teach them how to dance. Give them some fun. And more than that, you can teach the girls that they can dance but still be modest. And you'll become their role model. And you'll show them how you're modest. And they'll become modest. And I started developing the whole idea. And Baruch Hashem, she liked the idea, and she went and rented a little basement, and she took all these little girls from all these families that really can't afford anything. And some of the families paid $5, some of the families didn't pay anything. And within months, she became like this hero for dozens of little girls that live in these small apartments, they don't have any activities, and suddenly they're free to jump up and down and do whatever they want, and to be able to express themselves, to be able to do whatever they want. It became such a success that besides the unbelievable effect that it caused to all these dozens of these little girls, it became a parnasa, a job for her. It became unbelievable success. And I told her, you see how you take something that looks so irrelevant, And so maybe not sneers. Everybody told her it's not sneers. No, that's how you do teach the girls to be modest, that they can dance and enjoy themselves and still be modest. Anyways, it became an unbelievable success. The point is that each and every one of us has this unbelievable hidden talent that the Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us, and if I'm not utilizing it for Avodat Hashem, that it's mamash doing a sorrow to the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And each and every one of us has something, and you have to find it in you. Doesn't matter what it is. And you have to utilize it to Avodat Hashem. And this is the point of the Tamar. Next. The next one in line is grapes, geffen. Now, what do we associate with geffen, with wine, with grapes? Happiness, simcha. All the mitzvot that we do with wine is simcha. We do kiddush, we say lechaim, everything is besimcha with geffen, which comes to teach us we don't have to go too much into details. Ivdu et Hashem besimcha. All my service of God has to be done with happiness. I should not even encounter one moment of my day to be not in happiness. The Torah actually tells me that when a person is being judged for doing chas v'shalom a sin, is that he's being judged for doing something not with simcha. Ekev asher lo avatem et Hashem besimcha v'tur levav. That's what I'm going to be judged for. I'm not necessarily going to be judged for the mitzvah, for the sin. I'm going to be judged for the fact that I did not do it besimcha. Meaning that I have a mitzvah from the Torah, a commandment to be besimcha. I am all day long commandment to do my Avodat Hashem besimcha. And this is where the geffen comes to teach me. Next is the fig, is te'ena. Now, te'ena is a very interesting fruit. It has a few different qualities from other fruits. The first quality is that we eat the seeds. If you noticed, as we go by the hierarchy, then the first one is the olive. I do not eat the pit. It's hard and disgusting. The next one, which is the date, I don't eat the pit. The third one was already grapes. Some eat the pits, some don't. Most people spit them out, but some just eat the whole grape. They don't care. In the fig already, I eat the seeds are in the figs, in the figs, and I eat it. And the next one in line is the pomegranate. The seed is what I eat. The red pieces of the pomegranate, that's the seeds. So as they go down in line, we see that the pit, the inside, the pnimiut is hard and not edible. The last one, I actually eat the pit. In the fig, the seeds, we actually eat them. The next difference from all the fruit in the fig, that all year round the tree produces fruit. The fig doesn't produce itself in one time. You will take the fruit off the tree, a week later they have new fruit. It constantly renews itself. This is the quality of the fig. And this comes to teach me that I can constantly renew myself. I don't produce something one time, I constantly produce things. First of all, I can eat the seeds itself, which means that they don't harm me. More than that, it comes and tells me that I can constantly produce Torah and mitzvahs. There's no season in Torah and mitzvahs, and there's no season for me to renew myself. Now, the next one, of course, is the last one, which is pomegranate, which is another very interesting fruit, that, like I said before, that the actual fruit is the seed. And a lot of people I know, they maybe bite or they suck the juice out and they spit the remaining, but when you eat the pomegranate, what you really eat is actually the seeds. Now it says about the rimon, kepelach harimon rakatech, and what is it basically saying? What do our sages say? That the same way that the pomegranate is filled with seeds, so are we filled with good deeds. Now, I don't know if it's true, I never counted it. They say that there are 613 seeds in a pomegranate. I will definitely put somebody to the challenge. I don't know if that's really the case. Maybe somebody once did it and they found that there is. They did? And
they commented yesterday that somebody went into the office and we had a study in a few places, different part of the world, how many they measured. And the median was 600.
Yeah? Beautiful. I never put it to my test.
They did it on 20.
On one or many?
No, many.
Many? Baruch Hashem.
That's the average.
Oh, the average. Okay.
Of pomegranates.
So that's good to know. So now we learned another thing, that the average count on the pomegranates are 613 seeds. But it says that כשם שהרימון מלא במצוות, מלא בזרעים, the same way that the pomegranate is full of seeds, same way we are full of mitzvahs. The verse, how it says, and this is said in the Gemara, in Tractate Sanhedrin, that even the wicked one of us is full of mitzvahs like a rimon. So there's a funny story that one time a certain individual came to the Lubavitcher Rebbe and he told him, if the Gemara is saying שהרשע, הרשעים, wicked ones, are full of mitzvot, are full of mitzvot like a pomegranate, how can it be that it's saying that a wicked person is full of mitzvot? So the Lubavitcher Rebbe answered him, if they're full of mitzvot, how can they be called Rashaim? Very good question. Because the Gemara, the Talmud says that it's talking about a wicked person that is full of mitzvahs. So one should ask it the other way around. If they're full of mitzvahs, how can they be called wicked people? The reality is that there are many versions of this question. Really, because a lot of people come and say, oh, well, don't talk so bad about other Jews. All the Jews, even the bad ones, are full of mitzvahs. So, of course, this is judging to Kav Zchut everybody in the street by saying, oh, he's a complete wicked person, but he's full of mitzvahs. The reality is that it doesn't matter who you are. You just wake up in the morning and you say good morning to your wife. That's it. You did a mitzvah. So even a person that might be a wicked person based on the terminology of the heavenly court, he still does a lot of mitzvot. He doesn't have to wear a yarmulke and wear a beard and put tefillin on. I'm not saying that that's the right way. But just by being courteous to 10 people on the street and helping this person and doing this and doing that, by default you are full of mitzvahs, whether you want it or not. I'm not saying that that's the way to go by saying, oh, I'm nice to my wife and I'm nice to my neighbor and that's it, I'm good to go. The Torah doesn't exempt me from all the rest of the mitzvot. But one explanation that was given by the Gaon Chida, when they asked him, how do you explain this Gemara that says that even the Rashaim, the wicked people, are full of mitzvot like a pomegranate? So he said something very interesting. Kol Yisrael arevim ze b'zeh. All the Jews are connected to each other. So it's just enough that one of them has a lot of mitzvot, then everybody has a lot of mitzvot. Very simple. We're all one unit. In essence, all our souls are koma achat, in one place. Means that it's enough that we have a lot of mitzvot here, then it's being shared with everybody, which is a very beautiful way to look at it. The point to look at it from that is not to say, okay, that person is wicked, he has a lot of mitzvot. That's not what it's coming to teach us. What it's coming to teach us is one of the most important lessons that I have to go by. That if you notice by all these 7 speeches that we just went through, so let's do a quick recap before we go to the Rimon that is placed in the last one. The first one, it says that I have to apply Torah into my life, take the Chita, take the 22 letters of the Torah and plant it in my life and learn Torah and do mitzvot. It says that the wheat is food, lo al halechem atzmo al adam yichyeh, that our main sustenance is bread, but it also says that Torah is food for my neshama. So I have to understand from that I have to have Torah in my life. This is the basics. Then we said the Sorah is the measurement, how much I'm feeding my Yetzer Hara. Then The Torah, I have to plant the seeds. That's, I said, regardless. The concept of the tree. I'm just doing a quick recap of the 7 species before I explain the Rimon. Just so we will be fresh in our mind, because half an hour ago we already forgot what I said. So the Sorah, the Chita is my Torah. Sorah is the measurement, how much I'm limiting myself and my Yetzer, my Nefesh HaBehemit. The Zayit, the olive, is to understand and to accept that there has to be some bitterness in my life. And the bitterness better be from the Kadosh Baruch Hu and not from something else. I have to apply myself in my Avodat Hashem. I have to help other people. Then comes the Tamar, that there's nothing that I have to I have to have some type of positive ego in me, that I am good, I'm not a loser, I'm not good for nothing. I have a lot of good things in me that can be utilized for Avodat Hashem and be shared with the world. Then I have the Teina, excuse me, the Geffen. Everything has to be done besimcha, and if it's not, then take a little lechaim, so it will be done besimcha. But my entire Avodat Hashem has to be done with joy. Then the Teina means that all year long, there's no seasons to the Torah. It has to be done all day long. And then I'm meeting with the last one, which is the pomegranate. That our sages, what do they compare the pomegranate? That even a wicked person is full of mitzvahs. And this boils down to the most important thing, is when our sages say, Vedan kol adam lekaf zchut. You have to look at every person and see just the good in them. And this boils down to one act that is the foundation of everything. And this is called Ahavat Chinam, Ahavat Israel. Is that I'm very quick to judge another person and says, look how the person is wicked. They desecrate Shabbat, they lie, they cheat, he's going with this woman, he said Lashon Hara. All day long, we're judging people not to kaf zchut. Why? Because we see the wicked person in them. We don't see the mitzvahs that are in them. And really, each and every one of us is full of mitzvahs. Doesn't matter how long your beard is and how much modest you are. And don't take my words the wrong way. I'm not saying that doing half is good. You have to do everything. I'm not giving discounts. I'm looking at it at a completely different angle. Is that where we fail the most is that we look at another person and we don't see the good in that person, we see the bad in that person. Oh, he says this, he talks that, he doesn't come to shul 3 times a day. How do I know what's inside? How do I know how many mitzvahs are inside? To a point that I didn't know how many seeds are in the pomegranate. I just threw 613. I don't know how many seeds are in there. You know, if I'm going to take now a grape and I'm going to a date and I'm going to tell you, guess how many seeds it has? It can only have one. Maybe 1 out of a million will be deformed and we'll have 2. Same thing with a date. With a grape, I'll say, okay, maybe 3 or 4. It can't have 50. But with a pomegranate, you know, we had a game when we were kids that you had a gumball machine, and if you would guess how many gumballs are in it, you get the gumballs and the machine. Nobody will ever guess. I can look at a person and guess how many mitzvahs he has? Never. The exterior might not look so appealing, but the inside can be full of mitzvahs like a pomegranate. And there are so many people that the outside looks very, very religious. A very long beard and a long peyot and a beautiful black suit and 3 times a day in the synagogue, and then the exterior looks very, very religious, and the inside rotten like a potato. And on the other hand, some people on the outside, simple person, doesn't look that he has any connection to the master of the universe. But the inside, honest, courageous, courteous, charitable, giving, loving, faithful husband, unbelievable father, amazing employer. The point to take from that is that the whole point of Tu Bishvat is the motion of growth. And usually Tu Bishvat will fall on or around the Parashah of Beshalach, which in the time of the Parashah of Beshalach is the whole concept of the man, of mazon, of emunah, of belief. And the whole concept of Tu Bishvat, that it comes once a year, this is the time of year that I can actually grab in a certain energy, because every holiday has an energy. If it's Yom Kippur, it's tshuva. If it's Pesach, it's to clean my chametz out of me. Whatever it is, every holiday has its energy, every month has its energy, where I derive something out of it. On Tu B'Shvat, I can derive the power of growth, my spiritual growth. That's what I'm here for. Most of us have a focus, I want to grow. Maybe it's not so obvious, maybe it's not so clear, maybe sometimes I have my own ideas, but our human motion is to grow. We are called, in Lashon Kodesh, mehalech, walking. I'm not standing in one spot, I constantly have to grow. Doesn't matter if it's in my business, it's in my art, it's in my music, I constantly have to develop. Really, it comes from my spiritual growth, because I came here to constantly grow. So I need all these elements to grow. I need Torah. I have to have Torah. I have to have restriction in my life. I can't be working without boundaries. In my growth has to be some type of suffering, some type of bitterness. I go on a diet, it's not so fun. I want to lose weight, it's not easy. I want to be in shape, I have to work hard in the gym. I have to make money, I have to work. So for any type of growth has to be resistance, has to be some type of bitterness. I have to use all my talents. I have to know that anything can be done only in a good mood, even if it's not, even not in Avodat Hashem, even in my job. I can't be bitter in my job and will never be successful in anything if I'm not happy. If I come to any relationship and I'm bitter and there's no simcha in it, it's not going to be successful in that success in this relationship. So I have to take all these elements, but the bottom line, what stops him from my growth, is seeing the bad in somebody else instead of seeing the good in somebody else. And that's why our sages decided that the pomegranate will be left till the end. The pomegranate has the most seeds, that one might think they're not edible. But the reality is that when our sages come and say that even the wicked people are full of mitzvot, is to bring in me the motion of every individual to see the good in them. And if I'm able to see the good in every individual, that allows me to grow. Because I'm not limiting myself. If I'm limiting you, then I'm limiting myself. And if I'm able to see the good in you, then I'm able to bring that good out of you. More than that, I'm empowering that good in me, because what you have, I don't have. I might be very good here, and what you have, I don't have. And you're here to teach me and to show me that. And if I restrict you from inspiring me, I'm restricting myself. And that's why David HaMelech says, Mikol milamdai eskalti. I learned from all my teachers. Why? Because each and every one possesses something that I don't have. And if I take my ego and says, no, that's a wicked person. He doesn't follow all the Torah. He doesn't do this and that. Forget about right now, it's good or not good. That's not the point. I'm not coming to preach now what you're supposed to do or what not supposed to do. I'm coming to say that the Torah comes and teaches me that if I'm not able to see the good in somebody else, I'm only seeing the bad, at the end of the day, I'm just restricting myself, because that person has something to teach me. Can teach me manners, can teach me how to treat my wife. I can be maybe learning Torah all day long, but I don't know how to treat my wife. And this individual maybe doesn't know one word of the Torah, but he's the most amazing husband in the world. That person can teach me how to treat my wife. Mikol melamdai eskalti. So what I want to take from this holiday is, if I want to grow, is by only making space for everybody around me. What makes a tree beautiful? That when it's in an orchard, when there's a lot of them, one tree in the middle of nowhere, okay, one tree, put a lot of them together, oh, now it looks nice. Imagine a beautiful garden has one flower. You have a lot of flowers, you see all the diversity of the shapes of the leaves and the colors of the actual flowers. So each and every one of us, ki adam u'etz hasadeh, we're all trees. But, when it says that the Kadosh Baruch Hu put Adam and Chava, where did he put them? Vayita otam began Eden, in a garden of Eden. And then he took Adam HaRishon and showed him all the trees. Mikol asher ha'etz bagan asher mimeno tochal. Here, look, a lot of trees I gave you. Coming to symbolize that there are many types of trees. We're all different. In essence, we all funnel into one tree. This is called the tree of life.
We're all parallel?
No, I just said we're all funnels into one tree, the tree of life. But the reality is that each and every one of us is a different type of tree, so to say. And the foundation and the basics of my own spiritual growth is when I see the beauty and the good in every one of us and any one of my fellow Jews. And if I don't, this is failing in chas v'shalom in one of the worst sins of sinat chinam, of hating another person because he doesn't resemble me, or I think I'm better than him, or he doesn't do what I think is the right thing to do. And the point is to make space for another individual and to see the good in every person, and not to brush off any person because he's not identical to me, and he doesn't pray like me, and he doesn't dress like me, and he has a different custom, and my custom is more right than his. That's not the point. The point is to see how amazing each and every one of us is, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave unbelievable talents and gifts to each and every one of us. And the point I want to take from that I have to incorporate all these things together, but the most important thing to make all of them connected is the last one, Acharon Acharon Chaviv, and as it says, Kol Hashvi Chavivim Al Kulam, that the last one is all about this unbelievable and unconditional love for any individual, doesn't matter who they are, and even if on the outside they look a little bit like a wicked person, we don't know what's inside. And what's inside might be an unbelievable wealth of kindness and wisdom and beauty. And that's where it all lies. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we should fulfill this mitzvah of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, that you love your fellow individual exactly like you love yourself. This is the ultimate diminishing of my ego. If I have an ego, I will never love another person like I love myself, because I'm going to put myself always first in line. I'm first, highest priority, then you. This is not V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. The ultimate is to take my ego, is to plant it in the ground. And that's why I started when you asked, the ultimate is first you have to take your ego and diminish your ego. Then you can start applying everything else. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should fulfill the mitzvah of V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, and to have unconditional love to any individual, doesn't matter who they are, and to see the beauty in everybody, and to utilize everything that we just talked about. And that is what's going to bring us our spiritual growth. Needless to say, when we grow spiritually in our place, this is what's going to allow us to make space to the ultimate growth and the ultimate blessing of the coming of Mashiach. And we know that we're lacking Mashiach. We can blame it on many different things. And as I mentioned many times, the first Bet HaMikdash, the first temple, was destroyed from 3 sins: idol worship, bloodshed, and forbidden relations. Since the sin was revealed, then the length of the exile was revealed. The second Bet HaMikdash was destroyed from sinat chinam, from hating another person for no reason. Since the sin is not revealed, then the length of the exile is not revealed. As long as we carry this sinat chinam, this hating another person for no reason, then we're still in exile, and we're pushing the redemption more and more. It's all about us revealing the goodness in each and every one of us, and developing this unconditional love to another person, doesn't matter who it is. And Be'ezrat Hashem, if we'll be able to reverse at least this problem, we have a much better chance that the redemption is going to come much, much faster. Be'ezrat Hashem, it should happen very soon. We should see it with our own eyes. We'll wish you again Chag Sameach, and a beautiful week, and a successful journey in your growth.